Yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuning in from. Welcome again to Global Women's Empowerment Summit 2020. Today, this session we have today, we will be talking about social stigmas about deformity and disability. My name is Sanjaya Kumaraseri. By day, I would say, a growth consultant in marketing technology. And my passion is really about finding how creative arts and the improving communication can really engage people towards social change. So I have a wonderful and inspiring panel today with a guest panel with us today. Each individual is very driven and motivated in the little time that I've gotten to know them just before this panel discussion. And we will go into further more about this topic so that we can get over some of the prejudices and misconceptions around this subject topic. And very excited and inspired to have this conversation. Thank you very much. So to start things off, I'll have a quick introduction to the panel. So first off, I have Nora Abu Hassan, a social activist, a speaker, and author of Born to Smile, Life, Love, and Accepting My Cleft Lip and Palate. And I was interested to actually just recently find out that this is the only book in the world regarding the subject topic. So congratulations, and it's amazing that you're doing this.
Thank you. Thank
And
you,
on to my right, I have Suki, along with her husband who couldn't be here today, Edmund, are founders of the WeCare journey dedicated to the treatment of spinal muscular atrophy, or as well as known as SMA, that give patients and families the information and resources they need to live an active, engaged, and hopeful lives. I really like the last part of it rather than just being. And finally, last but not least, I have Terry GHANI, who is an entrepreneur, a TEDx keynote speaker, a humanitarian evangelist, and also a founder of Humanity.inc, with the one goal to help bring out greater sense of humanity amongst leaders and citizens of tomorrow, which is the youth of 1.5 billion in the world. Thank you once again. It's a pleasure and honor to have you on board today and have this discussion. So to kick things off, what I wanted to do was actually so the audience and the viewers tuning in get a little bit more about you. I wanted to actually understand, for me personally, I was just sharing you as well recently, like on top of having the responsibilities of you being a human being, family, you also had your personal stories and journeys and challenges. What actually drove you to take up these causes and be the fighting force in these causes that you have? What's the big picture mission that you have behind these associations? If I could start with Suki.
Thank you, Sanjay, for the introduction.
My pleasure.
The reason why we started the Persatuan WeCare journey was because SMA is a rare disease, and as you know, the name rare disease is already rare, which means the prevalence is low. There are very small number of patients for rare disease, and the main thing was the support that every family need when a diagnosis is given to a family. Feeling alone when the doctor tell you that your child has SMA and he really can't tell us who we can contact with or we can connect with. And in Malaysia, really, when you say about SMA, we Google and we couldn't find any information except any information that's family support in overseas. We find that the need for the family, especially family which has newly diagnosed child, they need that kind of support to find the information, to have hope, and to say what's going to be happening to the family and my child, because SMA is a progressive disorder. It causes, it takes away the ability to eat, to breathe, to walk, and the child is physically disabled, and it's progressive, and it's also terminal. With this kind of diagnosis, I think every family will feel so hopeless. We were devastated when we heard that diagnosis, and when the doctor told us that our child only has one more year to live, we couldn't just sit down and do nothing. And after what we have gone through with our experience, with the right good standards of care, we realized that in Malaysia, we need to tell people that there is hope and that things that can be done, and that's why we started at WeCare Journey, to create the awareness and to improve on the standards of care.
Great. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you for sharing. So one follow-up question I have is, even on the worst days, what makes you keep going on, even in the toughest of times?
In the toughest of times, I think we have to see then what is the toughest of times and what are the bad days for us. For me is Brandon, who is my second child. He is so young, but he can see the joy in life despite being physically disabled. He wasn't able to crawl, walk, since he was born and till now. But every little thing that he has, for example, like having even his favorite food like McDonald's or Hokkien Mee, is the best day ever for him. I mean, he see pure joy in life, and also my own. And when I see, I count my own gratitude. It's very cliche, but when you see what you have, the blessings in my life and the people around me who give us the support and love, there's really no bad days. Yeah.
Thank you, Suki. If I could ask Nora the same question, what drove you to take up this cause, to be able to share your personal story and be there for others who are being born with this deformity?
Thank you such
Yeah.
for the wonderful introduction. Yes, my name is Nora Boasan, and I actually wrote a book called Born to Smile, Live, Love, and Accept My Cleft Lip and Palate, because I myself have a unilateral cleft lip and palate. I had to undergo about 8 to 10 surgeries. My first surgery was about 3 months old, and my last was when I was about 30 years old. So I'm not going to tell you my age now. And I had to go, and let me tell a little about what a cleft lip and palate is. Briefly, it is a split in your lip and your palate, and also affects your nose. There are 4 types of a cleft lip and palate. One, a person is born with the cleft lip, but the palate is intact. The other one, they are born with the cleft palate, but the lip is nice. The third condition is a unilateral cleft lip and palate, which I was born with, and the fourth condition is a bilateral cleft lip and palate, where they have 2 splits on the upper lip and inside the palate. Now, we with a cleft palate, we are born with a facial deformity, and it affects also the way we speak. We are born with a speech impediment, so we all have to go for speech therapy. Me myself had to go to undergo about 1 to 1.5 years of intensive speech therapy for me to be able to speak without a high nasal tone. I am going to admit, if people were to pick up the book, in the book it writes about my multiple surgeries and also the emotional abuse that I went through from the age of 7 to 17. The transformation of a child born with a cleft lip and palate takes time, because you cannot do the palate today or you do the nose today and the lip today. You know, like I said earlier on, mine was a gradual transformation. So when the kids go to school, I'm talking from my own life experiences. So when I started going to school, I knew I was different, because children would tease me and call me names, and it would hurt me on a very deep emotional level, because if I've gone home and look at my face in the mirror, I knew that I was different, and there was nothing we could do about it. Because and when you have a facial deformity, CLP, you have the repair work. The repair work, you only do the basic repair, where you fix the palate and also the lip, but the plastic surgeons will only touch a child's face for refinement or revision. I would say aesthetic, when the kids are 17, when the face starts growing. So from the age of 7 to 17, you will look different. I had a lopsided nostril. My lip was, not, I would say, defined. And even now, if I don't wear a cover stick, people can still see my scar. The reasons why I did it is because I had an issue with self-acceptance. When I already went for external work, I honestly, like I said, we pick up the book. I didn't want to talk about it. I was very inferior about it. But when I went for a journey of self-realization and self-acceptance, and I really said to myself, this is what God has given me, and I learned how to love myself, really love me as a human being. And the message in the book was, first and foremost, I wanted to give tribute to my parents, because when my mother gave birth to me, she was stigmatized for having a child that was having, a CLP, and she was only 23, and it gave her a lot of emotional, I would say, traumatized, and attribute to my parents, and also for the children, the families, the mothers out there, that there is hope, but you need to go for the treatments, you need to go for the speech therapy, you need to go for your revision work, your refinement work, and see the plastic surgeon. You need to bring your children for all the proper treatment, because this is a treatable, defect. And to tell the children out there that, love yourself unconditionally. This is what has given, us, and you guys are so amazing, and be strong about it. And also, I want the parents to have an open communication with the children if they come back feeling battered, bruised after being, if this is my personal experience, maybe some children out there are not being bullied, but we never know. And I want the parents to be strong about it, and basically to give them hope and tell them that, you know what, there is light at the end of the tunnel, and your kids can grow up to become whatever and whoever they want, with faith, determination, and lots of internal strength. That's basically the gist of why I wrote the book.
Thank you. You summarized it well as well before I could even do it. Thank you very much. That's an amazing, inspiring story to go through your own struggles to share with the world. Thank you. Next, we have Terry.
Thank you.
Terry, same question to you, just so that people get to know who we're speaking to.
Well, thank you, Sanjaya. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we should give a really big hand to the two ladies. They're amazingly beautiful, strong women, and they are fully empowered. And I think their spirit will empower anybody watching this program. My journey is not quite the same as theirs, slightly different. I'm an entrepreneur, but I also have 4 kids, one of whom is my third son. He is special needs or differently able. He basically was born with bipolarity, schizophrenia, and psychosis with a bit of autism in him. So with him, he looks exactly like all of us. He looks normal. But when he gets into one of his meltdowns, he turns to a different person. Even as a father, he would turn to me and call me with profanities and actually will try and kill me. Now, this is not something you want to do every day with your own child. But what he taught me, and he's my greatest teacher, is that every human being in the world is born beautiful, is born with consciousness. Now, and they're also very humane. But when he switches to another personality, that's not Omar, that's another person. So when I saw him, he inspired me to think, hang on, all children around the world are exactly the same. We're born altruistic, but the human condition and all the external factors come in to change our mindset. And therefore, we don't become very humane. So with that, I started Humanity Inc. Foundation to go to schools to try and teach and motivate and inspire young people to get up and do something for humanity. And it means to volunteer with Nora, volunteer with Sui. I would love that. And that's my goal, to reach 1.5 billion young people, to bring that sense of humanity back to humanity.
Love that.
Thank you.
I love
Thank you.
that.
Thank you very
that.
much, Terry. And I would like to ask that question as well. So, in all that you do, again, what drives you to keep going? Because I'm sure there must be really tough days that it just feels too much.
Yes.
So why do you
Yes,
keep going?
I speak with bated breath simply because in my condition right now, it has put pressure on the entire family. I've been divorced, remarried, and I think my wife's watching this program right now in the UK. We've gone to a stage where we decided that after 10 years of trying to struggle with this, that we would live apart. We're not divorcing, we're not separating, but we would live apart so that we can actually regain ourselves, so that we can be stronger, so that we can come back to serve the world and serve humanity. Now, Omar's living with by himself with a special needs guide, also with my ex-wife, as well as myself and his sister. So for him, he inspires us because every time I see him, he just comes with nothing but love. And I'm sure with everybody that the two of you meet and work with, their parents, the children, are all exactly the same. They come with unconditional love. And this is what we want to give back to people, unconditional love. So that's my inspiration.
Thank you. I mean, I see a similarity amongst your interest and the causes. Is it's about the next generation. It's about you're here because you're trying to make the world a better place for the people that come after us. That's amazing. So today's topic was about the stigma around deformity and disability. So I actually wanted to spend some time to break down that particular topic of stigma, or what stigma is, or social stigma. So why do you think social stigma still continues to exist today? Is it a matter of because it's social acceptance, education about it, or is it more about more laws need to be in place to eradicate or reduce discrimination? Starting with Suki, what are your thoughts on that?
Social stigma for me is still exists is because there's lack of awareness, there's lack of empathy and compassion, like what Terry said. If you see a child, if you talk to a child, they do not see colors. They do not see anything that is, different in anybody. But when we grow up, there's so much things. Even like it's also part of our fault, the adults' fault or parents' fault, where we actually put in information. Slowly, we enter data into their mind, and therefore they make judgments and all that. So being as adults, when parents are judgmental, the kids will become judgmental. I'll share you a story where Brandon is she's confined in a wheelchair, and he went to a kindergarten. He was in a class with 6 to 7 kids. When we asked them after a year, what did you see in Brandon? When you saw him, the kids all mentioned, well, he's just another friend. He can do anything. It doesn't mean that if he's in a wheelchair, then he can't think. It's not like that. So the children I asked the classmate, I said, how do you play with him? Well, I just push him. He just have his wheelchair as his legs. That's all. And why we as parents, when we see a disabled child in a wheelchair, the first thing that comes to our mind is, oh, what a pity. And some of them always assume that Brandon cannot think or speak on his own. They always ask me, oh, so how old is he? What is his name? I said, you can ask him. He can answer you. And that's when what I meant is people or adults have very the prejudgment. Yeah.
Thank you. That's very insightful. To kind of lead on from that as well. So the other question to follow up is there any other experiences that you've had where the preconceived ideas of what people who are differently abled or have deformities that they don't have to deal with, that you hear people that are normal take it for granted, for example? No.
Okay, can I just tell you a little bit about stigma and
Okay.
a story?
Sure.
I belong to the social group Cleft Adults, and also on Facebook. And after doing my book, I met beautiful, amazing adults. It was so strong, and some of them have already done their revision work. And Zen, I love you, brother. I think you are one of the most strongest brother that I know, and I'm so proud of you. And he's a little bit of tricking. Unfortunately, due to unforeseen circumstances, he didn't go for speech therapy. So, but he has had several interviews that he's gone to. And they told him right in the face that we can't give you the job. Credentially, you're okay for the position, but because of the way you speak. Okay, so what happens to these children or these adults? So is it lacking of, compassion? Is it lacking of awareness? Or is it lacking of understanding? I think sometimes we human beings, we tend to overlook. I think valuing a person, not the way they speak or the way they look at just and look at the person at his abilities.
Yeah.
All right. And I also have grandmothers that come to me and tell me that their children, so i.e. their grandchildren, having born with the cleft and palate, and they are still having relatives around that says things about, oh, you punya itu macam tu, which is really not nice. So what I'm trying to do is please spread kindness, and really, if you don't have anything nice to say, maybe we shouldn't say it, because it does hurt, the mothers. And also blaming. Some mothers come and tell me, people blame them for having the children born with it. You know what? You are not to be blamed. Mothers out there, it's not your fault. You are not to be blamed. Don't feel bad about it. Okay, I just want to say that message out loud.
All right.
So it still does exist.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, to go on that, Terry, I hope, has there been any improvements or changes in the last 5-10 years on this topic? Your thoughts, Terry?
Sorry, Nora, you know.
No, I just wanted to say, like I said, right now, when I was emotionally abused in the 1970s, right now, some of the kids are still being bullied.
Okay.
The parents, the mothers come to me, and we're talking about 2020. So to answer you, maybe not. Let us think about it.
Would you
Terry,
agree as well?
over to you.
Thank you very much, Nora. Sugi, you talked about legislation. You talked about how systems have to change. So in my experience, I had an issue, and basically my issue is about Omar. And this is very important for you to listen. It's simply because the police department is one department, PDRM, congratulations to all of you, because several years ago, there was a special needs young man, about the same age as my son, was 27. He was arrested, and he was put in handcuffs and put into orange gear and dragged to the police station. Now, of course, the whole world said to the police, you can't do that. He's especially a disabled person. And since then, I found out that the police department have come up with a completely different standard operating procedure that manages this. I found out in not the best way, because I had to call the police on my own son. And when the police came, they did everything according to the new protocol. They did not take weapons. They spoke to him beautifully. They were so gentle with him, despite the fact that he could be very aggressive. They were so good. They escorted us with police sirens to the hospital so that he can get examination. But what's amazing is that there is now acceptance by so many different bodies that are coming together to try and create a platform where everybody can work together and deliver what needs to be delivered. And that,
Great.
Thank you. Really wonderful.
It's great to hear that there's hope and there's actually action being taken to at least get better.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that talks a bit about the structure and the support structure that we have, either by the law, the government, and people around us. I had a question to you, Sukik. So another thing that I feel strongly might be one of the root reasons why we have a bit of stigma is the communication, whether it comes from the culture and family or out there. Can you share a little bit more of your thoughts of, you gave a very good example of a positive communication that Brandon's classmates had. Is there any way that people can be a bit more enlightened as to what is the right term to use, or how can we either not, is it acceptance, or is it accommodation, or is it normalizing people with different abilities? Sorry, there's a bit of two questions in one, but to succinct it, basically, what is the right language to use? Is there a way that is normalizing versus making it acceptable?
Mm-hmm. So disability is such a wide and complicated, I would say, sometimes. And we are in, there's a group called Harapan OKU, which is, we always, there's in the chat, there's always still question about whether we should be labeled as special needs, differently able, disabled, OKU, or whatever. There's still this debate. I think for me personally, I mean, that's my personal opinion. If we still get stuck in this level of how do people want to see us as being labeled, we can be called as fat, short, plump, anything. It's still a label. If we do not move on, by accepting ourselves, accepting how people will see us. Firstly, we have to accept who we are and how people see us. That's more important. And move on from there to really show people what you can do, what is your ability. So leave the label aside, and show people what you can do. So I usually mention differently able, so that differently able is another big thing that you can actually see differently. Yeah.
Great, thank
Mhm.
you. So, in that same topic of communication and representation in the public sphere, Nora, I would like to ask you. Currently, you're seeing at least to a large part, there is a movement of acceptance and normalizing and accepting differently able people. The current representation in pop culture, media, and news of people with different abilities, or like for a better word, deformities. What are your thoughts on that? Is that helping the causes that you're involved in, or is it not being represented properly as you would?
Well, I think all of us need to play a role. And like I said, one of the many reasons why the birth of Born to Smile is to, encourage us or society to look at people all equal.
Hmm.
Okay, whether they are born with no leg or no arm or no eyes or whatever it is, we are all human beings. We are all created by our creator. So, but unfortunately, like I said, due to my personal experiences and communication with the mothers, the families, children, the CLP children are still being, called names, which we are trying our best. We are trying to educate out people out there because it does, name calling does have an emotional effect on these children.
Hmm.
They come back feeling bruised and battered. And I think we all should strive to have a better and kinder society and accept everyone and say thank you, God, and love everyone all the same, nevertheless.
Yeah.
So we are trying. I think there is, an effort there. Hopefully more.
And Terry, to add on to that, in your experience, like social media has been talked about, there's positive, negative thing, but in your experience, how has social media, or can social media help with getting this right message across, or educating and empowering people more?
That's a good question. So at Humanity Inc., we are very biased towards young people because we think that the only way to institute change is to do this multi-generational. So I'm approaching 60. I will probably not see the fruits of my labor, but we begin now, whereby we convince, we motivate, we excite, we inspire young people to perhaps volunteer with Suki's organization, Nora's organization, so that the young people can actually interact with people who are specially designed by God, so that they
I
are
like that.
not abhorrent. They actually accept them and say, hey, he's just or she's just one of us. And they grow up to be accepting adults. And that's our goal. And I wish we can work with all of you to do that.
Great,
Wonderful.
fantastic. Thank you very much. Keeping out, it's such a shame that we have so little time. I'm trying to race through all the questions that we have for everybody. So I wanted to just maybe live in this moment of virtual time that we're living in, where it's during the COVID pandemic. How has this current crisis, global crisis, affected you personally, or in the work that you do, either in moving it forward or actually caring for those that you care for? If I could start with you, Duki.
So COVID-19, it's a very red flag for families with SMA or rare disease. And imagine pneumonia can even take away, the patients of SMA succumb to pneumonia more than anything. A simple cough and flu will put the child in danger. So can you imagine COVID-19? We are very afraid, and I'm very thankful that Ministry of Health has handled COVID-19 so well, because we were very afraid of being triaged, as in, like, if the pandemic has hit Malaysia badly, people with disability and high risk patients will be triaged. That was our key concern. And of course, going out, even as family, we are very afraid. The parents have to work, and the parents, when they come back, they're so afraid that they are infected, and without knowing it, can pass to the children. However, we move on and we do what we do best. Adhere to the strict SOP. In fact, staying at home and being quarantined is nothing new to us because we actually try to reduce exposure to the public as much as we can when our child is sick. And physiotherapy is extremely important for SMA patients because they need to keep moving and do physiotherapy. So what WeCare Journey has done is we started, I would say probably first in Malaysia, is to have tele physiotherapy, one-to-one, where we engage the physiotherapy to teach us what to do with the child, have it done at home, and so that the caregivers also know what to do, and we do it for a child. So usually what we do is go to the center or hospital and we leave it to the physiotherapist because that is also our timeout for 1 hour. But now, no, we have to do it ourselves. And I myself has learned what muscles are engaged and how this will help our child. And we record that session and we can do it and we can show our other caretakers on how to do it. So this is very wonderful, and we thank our donors for who donate to this program and continue to have this program to benefit as many as possible.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Nora, if you could share with you in your experience with those who need treatment during this time, has it been a challenge, or what's the experience been like?
Definitely, it has been a challenge,
Yeah.
because if you have a cleft lip and palate, you need to see a plastic surgeon, and you need to do the operations in a hospital. There's nowhere else that you can do it. So I have mothers who comes and tell me that their children's maybe second revision or third revision are being on hold, and the only thing I can tell them is just you have to be patient about it. There's nothing else that they can do because they don't want to go to the hospitals in case of COVID-19. So it is a challenge to the children with this situation, and we pray to God that with the intervention of Allah or God that the situation will be much better. Let's
hope for the best.
Yes, hope for the best.
Terry, if you could share your thoughts as well
I'd
from
love
your
to.
experience.
Thanks, Nora. Thanks
Yeah,
for
you're
the sharing, and Suki as well. Yes, COVID-19, the pandemic that has changed the world. I think it is a reset button that has got everybody rethinking their lives, actually restructuring, recalibrating every single thing that we do. So in the midst of all that, there was a group of people, I think they were here earlier, led by Nell and Nash and her team, called Mind the Gap. I sit as an advisor to them. And the reason why Mind the Gap came out was because they figured out during the pandemic that there were many people falling through the gaps and didn't get any treatment. People
Yes.
didn't even know they existed. So Mind the Gap is looking to work with people like you and matching the people who want to donate time, donate food, donate services, so that there's a match. Yeah, and that's really important. And kudos to the team at Mind the Gap. At the same time, we work with an organization called Dignity and Services. They're an amazing group of people who encourage young volunteers to come in and volunteer with especially able or special people, simply because these young people during holidays have no idea what to do. Imagine they come for a holiday and go out to see a movie with a whole bunch of them, go to the park with a whole bunch of them. So it becomes a social event, and it's not something you're forced to do because you're a volunteer. And after a while, it becomes such a beautiful relationship. And I think that's what needs to be done. And again, my biasness, we start from the young people, because the young people will go home after that experience and share this with their parents. And their parents like, wow, my child just did that. That's wonderful. And it escalates upwards. So we hope we can keep doing this.
Thank you. Thank you. That's amazing. Moving on to the next topic. So since we are in the Global Women's Empowerment Summit, I wanted to touch on the word empowerment and what it would mean to the panel today. So Sukyu, what does actually empowerment mean to you? Maybe from also a unique experience as a woman. What does empowerment mean to you, and what does it mean to your family and your children?
Empower to me means, especially coming from a woman, is to know that we can do a lot of things. We are I would say women or mothers are usually the main caregiver. And empowerment to me is really to love yourself first, give yourself time, heal ourselves, forgive ourselves, and then to do more. only then that you will be able to do more. I must say I was very attached into caregiving for my children, so much so that I did, sort of like neglected myself until an event happened 2 years ago where I was forced into, quarantine for 5 days. I couldn't get out of the hospital, and nothing was prepared. I couldn't get food ready for a week or things like that. Nothing. No, I was just quarantined in the hospital because of influenza, and my children are okay. I mean, my husband coped. Everybody came in and all that, and I realized, hey, even if I'm gone, I would be fine. And that's when I realized I gotta love myself more. I got too tired. That's why, and that's when I realized that, okay, I have to spend time with my friends, get back to the old Sookie that I was, what I liked. And from there, I think my families and my husband was, very happy.
Right.
And that's when we can do more.
That's great.
Yeah.
Self-love.
Self-love.
Yeah.
That's empowerment.
Thank you. Nora, if I may ask, what can Malaysians do more of to empower your cause and to empower people who are dealing with cleft lip and palate?
I think first and foremost, we have to be kinder to each other. That's very
Kindness.
important. And stop labeling. Okay? Stop discrimination. We are all the same. Like I said, I'm repeating myself over and over again. We've all are all special child. We all have our own different abilities, different strengths. Maybe I was born with the cleft and palate, but maybe we look at we have other strengths as well. So we should stop all labels. I think Malaysia should have a strive for a more kinder society. That's basically what it is.
Acceptance and kindness.
Yeah, acceptance. Just accept, embrace, and love yourself unconditionally. Love yourself. It's nothing more beautiful than having self-love.
Yep.
And believe in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, who is going to believe in you?
True.
Sure.
Thank you, Nora. So that covered more about starting from yourself and the people. Terry, I would like to ask you, in your experience, having quite had an international career or exposure, have you come across a gold standard place or a country that we can look up to or aspire to be, whether structurally they've got the infrastructure ready to help support people who are differently abled, or even culturally they seem to show a different acceptance to people who are differently abled?
Beautiful question. Yes, the key word is self-love. The two of you brought it up. It's so beautiful. I want to repeat that word, self-love. If you don't understand that, you can Google it. It's such a beautiful word, because all of us need that, and all of us need to spread that around. So back to which country has a gold standard? Well, I'm a bit biased because my wife is from the UK, but that's not the reason why I'm saying this. The reason why I'm saying this is that while Malaysians are amazingly generous, usually with their wallets. And that's wonderful. Thank you, Malaysians. You are, somebody posts something on Facebook and everybody will donate to support somebody. And you see this all the time, which is so beautiful. But we're not so open with our time. And this is very important because, as Suki said and Nora said, because if the people who are caregivers, the main parents, have 24 hours caring for somebody with no respite, it is so important for them to give some time for themselves. Even go to a hair salon, or even a guy take a holiday, go to the jungle by himself, toddlers, or whatever. And it is so critical. Otherwise, they break down. And if they break down, they will be of no service to anybody. So in the UK, what's so apparent is the society just gets up and volunteer. All the time, anytime, every time. And I know my parents-in-law are watching, and you all know this. It is so beautiful to see this. It is in the culture. And it doesn't mean that Malaysians can't have the same culture. We can. We just need to inculcate that. And hence, this is why, again, we try this with the young people so that they grow up to be parents or adults who will do the same. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. So is there, like you said, there is still hope. A few good examples you gave with our police force also helping out. Is there at least a start to change this in terms of a support center for those caring for those differently abled? Have you come across conversations of that, or a support association for specifically, apart from yours, of course?
There are many.
Yeah.
I mean, there are also, not forgetting just for the caregivers, for adults with disability, there is severely lack of personal assistance. Like in Japan, personal assistant is, I mean, it's very common. But in Malaysia, to find a personal assistant for adults with disability. So what is the caregivers or parents worry most is after we passed on, who's going to take care of a child? Like Terry mentioned just now, Omar is living with a special needs caregiver. Where will other families who can afford or cannot afford get this? Even if families who can afford, they can't find any assistants who are professional and who are trained to help the children or even to help the patients. You know, they are an initiative and also works being done, but there is still a lot that is needed in this structure. Yes.
Okay, great. I just like do a quick time check. How long do we have left? We can keep going. Okay, great, fantastic. It gives me a bit more time to cover some of the earlier topics that I had. Actually, is there anything else that you'd like to add to this? But I think it's pretty important because we talked about the communication. We talked about what is the individual person's self-love and acceptance. We talked a bit about infrastructure. Is there an area that you feel that the common message that's being either even through us or anywhere, it's always that same topic, but there's a certain topic that you feel the public should know more about when it comes to dealing with this different?
Yeah. I do, on my social media, I do talk about bullying, okay, because of my own life experiences. I hope that, maybe me, but maybe other CLP children do not get bullied. But I said again, some mothers do come back to me and say that their kids are being bullied. So I am urging and a message out there to society. I think any bullying should start from home. So I think if we can cultivate the anti-bullying, campaign from our houses to our children, not to look down upon children who are slightly different, I think that would be great. And even if we can have the schools having more campaigns. Recently, St. Joseph actually invited me to do a small presentation because they had a week of anti-bullying campaign awareness, which I think is fantastic. Kudos to you, to St. Joseph. I think we all should cultivate more message of anti-bullying.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
For me.
Anything else to add, Terry, onto that?
Yeah. Can I just add one beautiful story which I really have to share? It's nothing to do with me. It's to do with a friend. His name's Stephen Collins, and his wife Yvonne, who have 4 beautiful children. And one day they decided to, Yvonne volunteered at a special needs place as well as an orphanage. And she fell in love with this tiny little baby. And then she asked permission, can we kind of like borrow the baby for a while and show my family? And so the orphanage said, yeah, okay, you sign the papers. So she brought the baby home, and the entire family fell in love with the baby. And so the husband said, okay, let's adopt the baby. So they went through the whole process, which was a very difficult and challenging process because they had to deal with all the embassies and all that because they were in a foreign country. And this child is not ordinary. This child was born with club feet. The people at the orphanage looked at them. Why are you taking so much trouble to go through all the embassies and all the applications to get this child to be your country's citizen so that you can bring the child back to your country, when there are so many other children that you can choose who are perfect? And of course, Stephen and Yvonne looked at the people who run the orphanage and like, he was speechless. And so he didn't listen, and they didn't listen, and they took the child and brought the child back. And of course, had a $75,000 operation done and all that. Today, the child is, I think, 14, running around living the life of his dreams with his parents. He's adopted by parents who give this child a lease of life. That is what all of us should be striving for. Acceptance and this openness that we have infinite thinking that anything is possible.
Yeah. It's fantastic. It's an amazing story. Thank you for sharing. I think, yes, as we're coming close to the session, to summarize, at least for me, the takeaway that I had, some three key main ideas or topics still seem to come back to humanity, right? It's about self-love. So I think there's a lot of people maybe not accepting themselves, hence they vent it out. And once you've had that self-love, then you're able to accept and see people not as they're differently able, but not as different. We're all still humans. And then also take action, right? Take action in the small little ways that you can in order to support everyone. So thank you very much for that sharing. Those are my three insights I would say if I was to take away. I hope the audience at wherever you're tuning in from got more out of it and can make sure that you keep in touch with these amazing individuals as the time moves on. So I would like to end it by allowing each and every one of you to give a bit more about your handle and where they can reach out to you for support, or if they need support, how can they reach out to you? So starting with Nora.
Well, I am on Facebook, but I think my Facebook is full. I am in the middle of actually opening, maybe a Born to Smile Facebook page, and I'm on IG. You can contact me at nhassan8, and I'm willing to, give my advice if their children, parents are having a CLP, and please do not hesitate to contact me.
Yeah.
And I'll try my best to give whatever I can in my capacity.
And not forgetting your book as well,
Oh,
Born to
yes.
Smile,
Yes.
which is in most publications and most bookstalls.
The book is currently at NPH, Kinokuniya, Times, Borders, and Popular. And we also have collaborated with eCentral, which is a Malaysian version of Kindle. We have formatted it into an ebook. So if you like to read book from your iPhone or iPad, go to eCentral's www.com. Thank you so much. And it's been a pleasure being here. Thank you to Andrea. I think you're super amazing. My respect goes out to you, and I love you. You're phenomenal. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Nora. I appreciate it. And thank you for all the work that you're doing as well. And for you, Sue York,
So E.
sorry, I apologize.
No worries.
Please.
So if you need any more information on spinal muscular atrophy or even rare disease, Google WeCare Journey, as in WeCare Journey, JOURNEY. You'll be able to find more information about SMA. Personally, you can reach out to Brandon's Facebook group, which is Growing Up with Spinal Muscular Atrophy. And my personal Facebook is Sooky, but there's so many friends to add. I don't really add. However, there's a message I just like to share that is to for everyone we're talking about stigma today. Remember that it's never a curse. It's never anyone's fault. It's not the mothers who have ate something wrong or done something differently when you carried the child. Remember, as women, don't let all this blame come to you. You are the caregiver. You show and inspire your kids that you go beyond what you can do despite your deformity or your disability, because you will inspire and give hope to the parents, to other people, to the public, to everyone who see how you live your life. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Make your day count and never count your days. Thank you.
Thank you. And Terry.
Yeah, Sugi, that was a beautiful last line. I love that. And it's so important for the audience out there. It is so important for all of us to understand what parents go through, because there doesn't seem to be an end in sight for most of us. Anyway, you can reach me at terry.ghani on social media, Facebook, as well as I shouldn't give my mobile number. Should I? Anyway, that's good enough. My partner will give me stick for this, because 1 year later, after we've done all this amazing work, we still haven't got our website up. It's coming soon. Watch this space. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Terry, Nora, and Suki. Appreciate your time. Thank you for watching in, and have a great rest of the session for today.
I wanted to come in and just wisdom in the middle,
Sure.
so that I can cover everyone. So I would like to give a big applause to the parents here and everyone who's here, because I believe what they did, that standing up for this and talking about this, is an amazing thing. I know Brenda, you did big stuff for Brenda. Yes.
When I met him personally, we were laughing together, we were dancing together, we had a good time. And thank you, Sanjay. It was amazing. I think what we brought out from the conversation, it was really great. Nora, thank you very much for being here. And Terry also. I know you are going through very hard times, and I'm really appreciating that you are still here. And please, if you are out there, just the main message of the summit here is that what Sophie said, that no labels, right? When you have labels, what does it start? When you have a label, you have to start you have to have an expectation towards the person. When you have expectations, you start to judge. That is not happening, what's supposed to happen according to that label. So let's just stop this. And I was thinking when to say this very important thing towards the summit. What was the main goal? To use the label of women empowerment.
Yes.
And I was thinking this is the exact forum to say that, because you were talking about labels. And I was saying this summit is not about women. This summit is about people don't see. All right, I have to say it again. Sorry, that's the technical speech that you see. I went sometimes candid many times. I forget the StreamYard. And it stayed on. I don't know how to put it on. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, it's okay?
You okay?
All right. I don't think that I can put it on.
Just hold
You
it.
alright?
Hold it. Just hold
Come,
it.
let me
Is
hold
it
it.
on?
Is it on? Can you hold? Okay. So the main message here is that empowerment is something that is without labels. Empowerment is not about judgment.
Yes.
Empowerment is not for women, not for kids, not for young people, not for elderlies. It's for everyone. So when you want to empower someone, just lose the labels. And that's what I wanted to show to everyone. If you bring together diverse people like you are, diverse people from all around the world, then what you will have is a bunch of people having the same mindset, talking about things that can change the world.
Yes.
And this was the meaning of the whole summit. And I'm so happy that you were here and did this conversation, because that's what I wanted to bring out of the whole summit.
Thank you.
So I'm really thankful for you, all
Thank
of
you for having us.
Amazing conversation. And thank you very much for doing this.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It began with a bold vision to build KL Metropolis, a development that would establish a new international trade and exhibition district in Malaysia, built in partnership with the government by NASA Group's property arm, NASA TTDI. The crown jewel of this grand vision is the Malaysia International Trade and Exhibition Center, the preferred international destination for exhibitions and events. Like the fine gold and silver threads of the Songket weave that inspired its facade design, MyTech is the embodiment of refined craftsmanship, creativity, and precision. As Malaysia's largest exhibition center, MyTech's functional spaces are unprecedented. Primed for exceptional displays, surrounded by state-of-the-art facilities and amenities. This iconic structure affirms a commitment to innovative excellence. It is a showpiece of engineering ingenuity. An enduring icon built for a new Malaysian era of success.